And welcome in Out of Bounds here on 103.7 The Buzz. Appreciate everybody listening in on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. John Nabors, Joe Franklin, broadcasting live from the Hogs Meat Market Studios with you today. And thank you as always for making us a part of your afternoon. This afternoon, it is a Reaction Monday presented by Fleet Management Services. So we are going to recap and react to everything that happened over the sports weekend. And we want to hear from you, too, and giving your reactions. You can call or text in at 501-661-1037. Get after us in the Asher Record Live fan feedback. After me on Twitter at BuzzJohnNeighbors. And today, we're going to have a loaded show for you because I know we're going to talk a lot of Razorback baseball. Going to have Andrew Ellis of hogsports.com in the 2 o'clock hour. And hopefully get a chance to also talk with our guy Peyton Stovall in the 3 o'clock hour. And know that they got some stuff going on with travel and all of that. But looking forward to talking with him. We're going to do a little talking of not only Razorback baseball, but also talk about PGA championships, talk some NBA playoffs, and all that fun stuff, too. And I got to admit, Joe, I know for those of you who maybe saw on our social media and everything, yesterday we did a Buzz video promo shoot for a few hours with the great people over at Waymax. So appreciate them being a part of it. And I won't dive into too much details because I don't want to spoil anything. But there are reasons of like people being a little bit sore and a little bit hurting today. And I will admit that my side over here is hurting pretty good after a few of the takes that I had to make. And so I woke up this morning with a little bit of pain in my, I don't even know if I want to call it the chest, rib area or whatever, but I'm sure I'm not the only ones. But it was really fun to go out there and to film that and to have some cool stuff that we're going to have happening here, not only on the Buzz, but from other local media outlets as well.
It was almost like getting a workout in. So if you haven't worked out in a while and then you get that initial workout in, that's kind of how you feel afterwards. And even if you are somebody that works out quite a bit, maybe you feel in areas that you normally don't work out. But when you get out there, man, it seems like you're working all the muscles.
Yeah, I'm working. I was working a lot. That's all I know. But man, I was feeling it today. But still, it was a lot of fun being out there and being able to do some different stuff as well. So again, I don't want to spoil too much, but be on the lookout on our social media on 103.7 The Buzz, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And we'll have that posted as well as our live video stream. So be sure to check that out as well as we keep that going each and every day here on all of our shows on 103.7 The Buzz. But a lot of things to dive into. And I think that one of the more disappointing things, which I'm sure will be partially going towards the best and worst of the weekend. But I mean, you could say disappointing, but it's also just part of it. Razorback baseball goes on the road to Vanderbilt in Nashville and loses 2 out of 3. One game won really convincingly. We talked about it on Friday. We were live at Twin Peaks. That was really impressive how not only did Arkansas get a big lead in the early going and not give it up, but taking advantage of the mistakes that Vanderbilt made, full control. And game 2 kind of felt that same way on Friday night. But unfortunately, they do play 9 innings, and Arkansas gave up a big lead. They had a lead of 8-2. And ended up losing that one. And then yesterday had a back and forth against Vanderbilt, Saturday had a back and forth against Vanderbilt, and then ended up losing that one too. So they did not win the series, did win the SEC West, though, because of LSU losing in a game to Georgia. And they are co-champs of the SEC, which I still, even though they're co-champs, it's great. Florida got the tiebreaker, so number 1 seed, still kind of give them a little bit of credit there. But postseason where it matters, but that was just not the way you really wanted your regular season to end, especially blowing that big lead in game 2 as well.
Yeah, that's the main thing. You want to see that when they get runners on base, they're able to advance them, don't give up so many runs, and that was kind of what happened in game 2. So now you have to spin it forward, though, and just, turn the page, get to SEC tournament play, and now you realize that everything is about the postseason. So you kind of have to put that behind you, even though it did end on a low as far as the regular season. You have to put that behind you and know that everything now moving forward matters even more.
Yeah, you got the SEC tournament that's going to be going on this week, and Arkansas, of course, being the 2 seed, they will not play until Wednesday. So they'll be the second game of the day, and they look around 12-ish, 12:30-ish is about when the game will be getting started. So I guess here on Out of Bounds, we will not be having, at least the start of our show, may end up doing a little bit of maybe a post-game show, if you will, quote unquote, for a little bit. But
maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. You never know with these games. It could be a run rule, be over with quick, or going to extras, could get rain delays. You never know with all that stuff. But Arkansas will be playing on Wednesday at least, and then they'll be playing the next day because it is double elimination. And once you get to that point, Arkansas is going to face the winner of Tennessee and Texas A&M in that game too. So again, it's cool that they ended up winning the SEC West, and it's cool that they were co-champs. But I don't know, like it's an accomplishment, but I really don't care. Like, I don't care that they won the regular season. Again, it's something that can be celebrated. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but as far as just things that matter, winning the SEC regular season is a cool thing that gets you a national seed, and that matters, home field advantage and all that. But this is where, not even the SEC tournament, I don't even care about that, but it's all about that field of 64 and making that next level. That's the expectation that this team has right now.
Yeah, but for the regular season to accomplish certain goals, you do have to hit certain points, and that was the beginning of it. You wanted to be in a good position to get good seeding, not only in the SEC tournament, but overall. You want to get one of those top 8 seeds in the NCAA tournament. And so they put themselves in that position, and they have to go through the regular season and have a good season to make that happen. And that's where they are.
Arkansas is going to be a national seed. Don't know what number they will be, but losing that one to Vanderbilt. If they would have won the series against Vanderbilt, I think they would have secured that number 2. But, will they drop to 3? Will they drop to 4? We'll see. Because to me, also with the numbers matter a little bit, but that's about matchups. As we saw a couple years ago, that number 1 seed, Dave Van Horn said it when Arkansas won the SEC regular season and tournament. He's like, we got a tough draw, and it ended up being true. No excuses, still lost, but it was a tough draw. So, just getting to that national seed and having those games at home is great. But until you know what it looks like or who some of the teams you might be playing, just because you're a 1 or 2 seed doesn't mean you have an easier path than a 7 or 8 seed. Because at this point in time, it's just about who's playing their best baseball and where you get matched up with too.
Baseball is tough regardless. And then especially when you get past your conference tournaments and you get into regional play, you're talking about 3 other teams being in that region. So you have to game plan against 3 other teams in a short span and then try to make it from there to get back into your typical series type setting when you get to super regionals. But you have to get through regionals to be able to get there. And you just have to plan in different ways and realize that it's going to change every step that you take. And that's what makes it so difficult about baseball.
Yeah, it makes it fun. It makes it entertaining because you just never know what to expect. But it could also be pretty frustrating because of the unpredictability of it all, too. But we'll see what Dave Van Horn in Arkansas, how they approach the SEC tournament this week. I would really like to see them not go too far into it. In fact, I saw some numbers that the team in the SEC tournaments, at least over the past 5 years, if you just play 3 games, that's it. Just so you win 1 and lose 2. If you do that, you have over a 50% chance of making the College World Series. Just something that's in there. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but percentages are pretty high. I don't want them to go all the way, and I don't know if they're going to approach it that way of going all the way, but maybe getting some guys that coming back off of injury out there to play. Maybe a guy like Gage Wood, who may have lost a little bit of confidence. Maybe throw him out there to try to gain some of it back before postseason. They'll still see some things like that, but the curiosity will be about how Dave Van Horn approaches getting into Hoover and getting into the SEC tournament itself.
It's also a good feeling and something that's taken for granted going into the SEC tournament. You don't have to worry about what you have to do at the SEC tournament. You know that there's more play ahead of time and that you will be playing the following week. There are some teams entering their conference tournaments. They don't know what lies with them as far as their fate goes. They know that they have to win games to be able to determine if they're going to move forward and get into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, Texas A&M to me is the team sitting at that 10 seed where they probably, there's not for sure way of if they're in or out. They're like a bubble team, if you will. So them winning in the SEC tournament is probably going to help them, at least help the cause of where they're at. And then there are some other teams that are kind of like a borderline national seed or a borderline regional seed as it is. If they're at that 16 mark or whatnot and they want to host a regional, maybe some wins there will be able to help them out in securing that spot too. So, yeah, there's some things and there's some reasons why other teams will play in the SEC tournament and try to win some games. But there's a lot of other teams too that are like, hey, let's just get out of there healthy, which is important too. We know Arkansas has been struggling with that. Because even against Vanderbilt, John Bolton, why not? Hey, it's your time, man. Everybody else has gotten injured. It's your turn now. It's a sprained ankle. He's not going to play this week. So we'll see if he ends up coming back for the regional. Hopefully that's the case. But I don't know. It's just so frustrating. I get so tired of it. These injuries are just absurd, and it's unreal. But, what do you do about it? Just sometimes it's just baseball, it's just sports. It's what it is at the end of the day.
Arkansas may be in a better position because of some of the injuries that have happened during the season. Because when you get to this time of the year, at the end of the season, you're going to play some depth. You're going to play some depth in conference tournaments. The thing about Arkansas is they've been playing depth pretty much all year. So now those players are used to that environment and being on the field. And it's not as if they're just getting thrown in there and they haven't played a lot. They're players that have played quite a bit. And so it puts them in a better position.
Yeah, they've gotten plenty of experience. Like I will be curious at the end of the year going back and seeing, I was like, who didn't play significant like times and pitches and plays and innings? Like who didn't do that? Because at some point in time, they've been called upon. And of the starting 9 from the beginning of the year, and knock on wood, all but 4 of those players had suffered injuries that kept him out a significant period of time. All but 4. And the only ones have been Caleb Cowley, Brady Slavens, Chase Borfrin, and Kendall Diggs. So let's hope that doesn't change. And again, knock on wood. But that's the another incredible thing, because I went back and saw who was starting the first game, and I'm like, wow, like so many of these guys have dealt with injury.
Yeah.
Over.
It's just reality, though. You know that there are going to be bumps and bruises along the way, especially when you play sports. And, like if you're not used to playing them, you can realize really quickly that there's a lot involved with it. And even going back to last year, you mentioned Brady Slavens there. He's a guy that has dealt with injury in the past, didn't have to worry about it this year, but you realize that that's just a part of it.
Unfortunately, it is. But hey, this team, they still got a lot to play for. They're still in a great position. They still got plenty of talent to get it done. They just got to move forward. So postseason officially has arrived for Razorback baseball. But we'll talk about that. We want to hear from you on a Reaction Monday presented by Fleet Management Services. What do you make of Arkansas going into the SEC tournament and a postseason? You still feeling confident? Still feel like this is a team of destiny that they can still win it all? Let us know. 501-661-1037 is that number to call or text in. We'll have best and worst of the weekend coming up, as well as some recapping of the NBA weekend, as well as the PGA Championship. You won't want to miss it, so stay tuned here on Out of Bounds. It is a Reaction Monday presented by Fleet Management Services here on Out of Bounds. So let's hear your reactions. 501-661-1037 is that number to call or to text in. So we're going to get to our best and worst of the weekend here in just a little bit, but do have some people on our First Arkansas Bank and Trust text line chiming in from the 501 says, Bolton is absolute money at shortstop. I pray that he comes back. Yeah, I do too. Arkansas leads the league in double plays, and big reason is because you got a really great defensive shortstop. And his bat, it hasn't been great, but it's gotten better as the year's gone on. So hopefully he's able to come back and be ready to go. Also from the 501, different 501 says, how about the number 2 UCLA Bruins shocker in collegiate softball over the weekend?
Oh, that was big.
Yeah.
And they lost that first game, and you would think, right away that they are going to bounce back, but they go out. They're hosting a regional, and they lose and don't ever have a chance there.
Yeah, well, I guess Liberty was the one that upset them too, right? If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was Liberty that beat them. So yeah, that was huge. And speaking of softball, wasn't fortunate the Razorbacks. Their season's officially over. Seemed like it didn't really get started very quickly once postseason happened, but hosted a regional, and the team they were able to win a couple of games, but Oregon just had their number and eliminated them completely yesterday, run ruling them in a way of 14-4. So it's just, you hate it because it was a good season for them, but their goals and their expectations is to get to the College World Series too, and just unfortunate that the season ended in Fayetteville once again for the Razorback softball team.
There's nothing guaranteed, and hosting a regional is great and everything, but they ran into a team that's hot right now, and they're playing really good in Oregon.
Yeah, and well, Courtney Deifel, she's a great coach, and she is what she's done with that program, turning it around the way that she has, is nothing short of incredible. Because it was the bottom dweller of SEC softball. In fact, I think 2 years prior to her getting there, or maybe it was right as soon as she got there. Either way, they won 2 SEC games in 2 years. They played 30 games and they won 2 in 2 years. Had 1 win in each one, and so they're just continuing to build, continuing to get back, but they'll be back next year, and they'll be a team that's contending once again, and hopefully they can bust through, and get to that College World Series, because I know that's kind of their expectation for it there as well. Also, we haven't talked about just officially yet, but yesterday and just over the weekend in the NBA, I would not have guessed that we would be sitting here on this Monday and looking at the Eastern and Western Conference Finals and saying that the series is at 3-0 in both of them. And the teams that are down 3-0 in these games or in these series are both the Celtics and the Lakers. Not to say that I would have been surprised if the Nuggets and the Heat won, but to be down 3-0 in both of these series, I think that's a big surprise to everybody.
Not necessarily for the Heat and the Celtics, because you're talking about Heat that were up 2-0. Now they go back home, and every team plays a little better at home. The crowd is more into it. So that wasn't necessarily a surprise. The bigger surprise, Nuggets going up 3-0 against the Lakers, and the Nuggets haven't really played well all season on the road, but they were able to pull it together in this game 3, and were just a little bit too much for the Lakers. Now it becomes a question of, with both these series being at 3-0, everybody starts thinking right away about sweeps. And it's more likely that the Lakers extend the series than the Celtics. But both these teams, they're going to go out and play hard, and it's always hard to put teams away. And so that's where the Heat and the Nuggets are. You can't just win 3 games. You have to win 4 to be able to win the series. So they're trying to end these series as soon as possible and then get some rest before the NBA Finals starts. And they've made a change as far as the NBA Finals. They usually set it as opposed to waiting on the conference finals to be over. So now if both these teams can end these series early, they're going to get some well-deserved rest and time off before the NBA Finals start on June 1st.
Well, yesterday, I know people have just talked about it the entire time, but the Celtics and the effort that they put forth there in Miami was abysmal. It was awful, as they lost 128-102 to go down 3-0. And, it was really the Heat showing their dominance in the early part and at halftime. They had a pretty significant lead, but it was the third quarter that made all the difference, where the Heat had 32 points and the Celtics had 17. Just did not seem like they wanted to be there. And, I hear that cliche used, and who really knows if they did or did not. But when Tatum has 14 points on 6 of 18, Jaylen Brown has 12 points on 6 of 17. You shoot as a team under 40%. You shoot 26% from three-point land. You can't stop anybody, just defensively, almost like Bart Scott said, couldn't stop a nosebleed. It was a vibe, and you got to give credit where credit is due to the Heat, and especially Vincent going off like he did yesterday. But that was just it's one thing if you get beat, but man, to have that type of effort and performance by the Celtics, I think was something that Celtics fans especially have to be extremely disappointed by.
Heat are really good at creating wide open threes. It's one thing to be guarded on some of these threes, and they hit a number of those also, but they do a great job of creating these wide open threes by driving to the basket, kicking it out, and they make a high percentage of it. So that's something that's always going to be in their favor. Now, we know that games can go either way as far as shooting the ball. You either shoot it well, and sometimes you don't shoot it as well when you're depending upon that three so much. But this game, they shot 55% from three, and that's hard to beat a team that's shooting that well.
Well, yeah, Mazzulla, who the coach of Boston, who a lot of people are ripping, and he was asked about the disconnect and what was going on with his team, and here's his response.
Joe, I don't want to say you lost this team, but is there a disconnect between you and the players at this point? Is there something not quite working that might have worked in February or January that you're not telling them to lose by 28 points, but you're telling them to try? So is there a disconnect?
Yeah, that's where I have to be better, is figure out what this team needs to make sure that they're connected, they're physical, and they're together by the time we step on the floor.
What do you think caused that disconnect?
Not sure.
So he also went on to talk about how he's got to have the team better ready and more prepared for this game, and he didn't have them where they needed to be. So a lot of people are coming at Missoula for the I guess the blame and the performance from yesterday, and also the situation the Celtics find themselves in right now too.
As far as going into a game, they're going to go into a game knowing what the situation is and knowing that they're down 0-2 and trying to come away with a win. But when you get down by 30, then you can see that maybe they sense sets in where they feel like they don't have a chance to win that game in particular, the one that they really need. And that's where you can see that, players may not play as hard. Certain things may happen during the game that people pick up on to say that the effort is not there. The effort is there to begin the game, but when you get down, sometimes the game is pretty much over. And when it gets to that point, then everybody wants to go back to the beginning of the game to say that they never showed up. No, they showed up with the mindset of winning the game, but sometimes the game overtakes the flow of the game, and everything overtakes what happens, and you get behind, and there's no way to dig out of it.
To me, it's like they're professionals, and they're a team where the majority of them have been a part of teams that have made it very far into the playoffs, and in some cases the NBA Finals. And I hear that, and I know that, not to say that there's just one person to blame and point the finger at, and I'm not even saying Missoula like, oh, he's free of blame. I'm not saying that. But I think it was Shaq that always talked about it. He's like, this is what we do. We're professionals. Like, we're the ones that got to get ourselves ready. We're players that have been around a long time, and we got to go out there and we got to get it done. And so, like, when I saw so many people just kind of blaming Missoula and all that, I'm like, okay, how about you just blame everybody involved? Like, I think there's not one person to just point at and say, oh, that's the problem. Again, these are NBA guys. These are professionals. These are superstars. These are guys that have experience in the NBA playoffs, and a lot of them been to the NBA Finals. I just feel like having them ready is an overblown thing, when, as a player, I think that it's a lot of the responsibility falls on you to make sure that you are ready as a team as well.
As a leader, you're going to take the blame for it. So that's what coaches do, and that's just another part of the game. But yeah, with this team, then everybody is looking for a fall guy. And in this sense, Joe Mazzulla becomes the fall guy simply because they look at what happened last year and in years past, and when this team would battle, and they never really got in this position where they were down 0-3 in a series. And so, of course, there's where the change comes in, and now that's where all the blame goes, and everybody wants a fall guy. And anytime things go bad, everybody's looking for a fall guy. In this case, it's Joe Mazzulla.
Yeah, if they get swept, it won't surprise me. That guy gets fired. He just moves on.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. And he's still, even if they don't get swept, he still may get fired. Now, maybe if they come back and they win the next couple of games, and then you have a big time effort in a game 6, then maybe the thought process changes. But as it stands right now and how everybody's thinking and viewing him, no, there's no doubt that that is a real possibility.
Well, tonight you're going to have the Nuggets and Lakers in their game 4. They're in LA at Crypto.com Arena. According to Bet Saracen, Lakers are favored in this game by 3. So, I mean, I agree, though. I think that if there's going to be a team that extends the NBA playoffs, or at least in their own conference finals, it's definitely going to be the Lakers instead of the Celtics. But still, that one should be an interesting one. And I guess we get to see a chance to that play out to where you mentioned if both teams found a way to sweep, boy, we got a long little delay until our NBA finals that we get to check out just because of the sheer dominance where you got to give credit where credit is due to both the Nuggets and the Heat if they were able to
But
accomplish that.
if on the other hand, if both these teams do extend these series with the Celtics and the Lakers, now the Celtics are in a better position because they extended the series and they're going back home, as opposed to the Lakers now having to hit the road.
Yeah, no, that's a good point too. Hey, listen, we'll see what these teams are made of. We'll see what the Lakers are made of and the Celtics are made of when their backs are truly against the wall, because no team in NBA history has ever come down from 3-0. So if they want to do something like that, if they want to change history a little bit, one of these teams are going to have to step up. But that's a huge feat to ask for any of them, no matter what. Let's go to the phone lines. You're on a Reaction Monday. Got Jake, who's in Cabot. What's up, Jake?
Afternoon, Freak. Afternoon, John. How you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Doing great, man.
Good to hear from you guys, man. Hey, John, first of all, I don't give a damn about the NBA, really. I just think it'd be cool I guess it's never gone, the conference series have never gone 4-0, 4-0. In other words, 2 sweeps to the championship. So I'm all about history. That'd be cool. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I think that there's always unique stuff like that. And, I honestly wanted to text Carlton and Neil and those guys at Bet Saracen and be like, hey, what would be the odds if you put down both teams who are down 3-0 coming back and winning the series 4-3? I'd like to know.
Enormous odds.
I'd put a parlay on that just for funsies, just to see what would happen. But no, I'm with you. I like history being changed like that.
I get that. Hey, y'all know I listen all day, man, and I love all the guys all day long, right? And but this morning, man, people were calling in, giving you a little bit of hell, John, and I don't understand why. Maybe I'm missing something here about, I don't know if you heard it or not. It was during Razorback Graffiti, and now the new thing during Razorback Graffiti is they call in and they pretend to be a personality on the show.
Oh.
So they call in as David Basil, or they call in as John Nabors or whatever, and then they say something that would whatever.
Right.
Anyway, like a lot of people seem to not like you, and I'm like, man, dude seems pretty cool and he does a good job on the show. I met Freak. I know he wouldn't work with somebody that was not, up to par with him and his standards of excellence. So I was just wondering, first of all, tell us a little bit about what y'all filmed out there. Because they didn't really go into depth. I know it was commercial or whatever.
Hey,
and then I don't know.
Jake,
maybe
we can't go into depth about it. It's a tease. You have to wait for the actual product to come out, and it's not going to be long. It'll be a quick turnaround. That was just some insight as to what it was some insight into what we did. That's all that is.
Are we talking Channel 7?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be on. Hey, listen, it's going to be on national news, man. It's going to be on ABC News. It's going to. We're going to take over the world.
John, David was bragging that he took you down pretty hard. I'm just saying. Baz was bragging that he took you down like Bo Jackson.
Well, hey, listen,
That's all I'm saying.
He wanted a free shot to tackle me, and I was like, well, as long as you're okay with it, and you don't want your, you're not going to hurt yourself, because I know he's had a lot of surgeries and all that. I was like, give me your best shot, man. Let's make it real. Let's get the take.
He also said he was extremely sore today from doing that. So, to your credit.
Yeah.
There you go. Anyway, guys, I just enjoy listening to y'all, man. Enjoy the show, and I didn't know if I could get a little bit of insight on some of those commercials or ads coming up. But, man, you guys have a great day, and enjoy this Monday. It's beautiful, at least up here where I'm at. So.
All right.
Appreciate it, Jake.
Yeah, thanks for calling in, Jake. Yeah, it is beautiful outside too. Yeah, I mean, as far as what we did yesterday, it's just, again, you'll see it when it comes out, and we'll promote it on our social media, and you'll be able to see it in various forums and all that. It was a really fun thing though to do, and I know that, as we're a big group of people here on 103.7 The Buzz, and there's a lot of us that have different schedules. So getting us all to come together and to make something like that work, I think that's historical. That's a tough feat. And it's not saying it's anything bad. It's just you got a bunch of people got different things going on in their lives. So I think that was probably the most fun element about it is just being able to have everybody together in person and for a few hours and just kind of, having some fun with some stuff like that too.
And it's probably better suited that happens on the weekend because everybody is going in different directions during the week. And plus, we need some sunlight and things like that to go along with the product and make it better, a better presentation overall.
Oh yeah, yeah. I feel like there was if Bad's sore, I know I'm sore. There's a lot of people that are probably sore from yesterday and what went down. So that's what's going to make the promos that much more fun and that much better. So yeah, be on the lookout for that and everything going on there. But yeah, it's so also from Twitter. What we're talking about some Razorback baseball. They say, guy. This comes from Laura. Says, guys, I don't really care about the SEC tournament, but I do care about winning the SEC regular season. I'm glad we were able to do that, but I'm actually legitimately concerned that unless we get some of our confidence back in a few of our players in the SEC tournament, then it may bode pretty badly for us in the regionals. What do y'all think?
That is a common thought that you want to, and this is fans
Right,
thinking. It's
right.
not the team. The team, they want to win every stretch of the way. They have certain goals that they want to hit. But yeah, from a fan's perspective, it probably is better to win the SEC in the regular season because you're going to be in such a great position moving forward. And then you don't have to worry about what has to be in the tournament. So that is a common thought. But as far as confidence and dealing with some of the injuries. They've dealt with the injuries all year, but when you do get to this time of the year, there is something to be said for you need to be playing with confidence moving forward and not really harping on certain things that have happened. You have to try to correct certain areas where you haven't been playing well, or you won't be playing for long in the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have you gotta be a confident team. Confident teams always get the job done, and we know that with when you're playing really well, it's pretty easy to be confident. But the type of tough teams, mentally tough teams that can bounce back after a tough showing or a poor showing is what describes and what defines champions. And again, if you want a silver lining, how about this? Arkansas, when they got swept by Georgia on the road, people were pretty upset, pretty disappointed, right? It didn't look good, right? So they lost where they gave up a huge lead in the ninth inning in game 3, right? Well, guess what they did the very next weekend? They swept. They swept. They came back and they swept. And to me, that just shows the type of toughness that a team can have and also shows, hey, that just because things go south in one weekend doesn't mean they're going to go south going forward there too. But yeah, again, silver linings for those of you who may be frustrated by that. But still, they got a lot of people that are still going to be attending the SEC tournament there in Hoover. And I'm going to be one of them. And the Buzz is going to be down there as we're going to give you all the updates from the SEC baseball tournament this week. A huge thanks to not only Bell Chevrolet, but Bud Light, Joden Son, Diamond and Bridal Fine Jewelry, Edwards Food Giant, Homer's Ace Hardware, and Lion Legal. Appreciate them being the official sponsors of the Buzz trip down to Hoover, Alabama for the SEC tournament. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll get to more of your phone calls and messages, as well as what's trending in the world of sports. You won't want to miss it, so stay with us here on Out of Bounds.
If you're shopping for a vehicle, you want to get to Guadney Chevrolet. Guadney has the best deals in the market. Been doing it 60-plus years. Give them a call, 501-982-2102. And right now, you can get no payments for 90 days, so take advantage of that. Where you buy a new vehicle, you don't have to worry about making that payment for a few months. Pre-owned vehicles, they're good enough for mom. Guadney Chevrolet is going to go through those vehicles and make sure everything checks out on them. They're not going to put you in a vehicle that they wouldn't feel comfortable putting their own mom in. 1.9% is available on Blazer, Equinox, Trailblazer, Traverse, and Silverados equipped with the Turbo Max engine when financing with GM and a well-qualified buyer. Make the trip to the Gregory Street exit in Jacksonville. Shop them online, GuadneyChevrolet.com. You can see all the deals, the cash allowances, the rebates, even appraise a vehicle. See just how much it's worth. They're giving thousands over book value, whether you trade that vehicle in or you sell it to Guadney Chevrolet. Guadney is always actively buying vehicles, so you get a great deal on that vehicle that you trade in or sell. See the entire inventory of new and pre-owned vehicles on GuadneyChevrolet.com. It's Guadney Chevrolet, Arkansas's #1 Chevy dealer. Guadney Chevrolet, GuadneyChevrolet.com.
It is a Reaction Monday presented by Fleet Management Services, and we'll get to what's trending in the world of sports here in just a second. First, though, let's go to the phone lines and get Heath and Cavett, who's on. What's up, Heath?
What's going on, guys?
Hey, Heath.
Hey, Joe, did you watch the fight this weekend?
Yes.
Tell me who you think won.
So initially, Lomachenko, just, looking at the action, but it was a close fight. And, close fights, they are hard to judge. And then the way the scorecard shook out, it's like Devin Haney, he won the 12th round. If he doesn't win that 12th round, we're talking about a draw.
I don't know, man. That 116-112 score by Dave Moretti pretty much, I don't know, man. I mean, he's one of the most corrupt judges in the sport of boxing. I mean, he's the one that gave, in the second round, he gave
Haney.
When Tank Davis knocked down Ryan Davis, Garcia, he gave him the round.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can't believe he gave him the 10th round. If you look at Lomachenko took over that fight. It was, I agree, close fight. But look, he turned back the clock, man. 35, he looked 25, and I mean, there were some close rounds, but I think the whole boxing world had Lomachenko winning 7-5. I mean, if you even look at DraftKings before the fight, Lomachenko was plus 200. And then at the start of the 12th round, Lomachenko was negative 500. That goes to show you in the live betting, everybody in the world who was betting knew Lomachenko was winning that fight. So
Heath, it had a lot of similarities to Jermaine Taylor, Bernard Hopkins, the first fight, but really the second fight, because you're talking about the younger boxer that comes in. He's the undisputed champ. He has all the belts, fighting an older fighter, and then kind of takes control early in the fight. But we know that they're the championship rounds later in the fight. And that's when Loma took over. That's when Bernard Hopkins, he may have outpointed Jermaine. And then they felt like the champ, they did enough to maintain the championship in close fights. And so it had a lot of similarities to that one.
Well, yeah, and you got to think, I mean, Haney's 24. He's very talented, highly skilled. He's got a lot of years left in the sport. So Loma, I mean, I hate to say it, I mean, he's on his way out. So he may have two more good fights left in him, but I don't know if he'll get another opportunity. But I just, from watching that fight, and you got to go back and watch it on mute. You got to take the commentary out of it, because most of those guys, other than Tim Bradley and Andre Ward, those guys have never been in the ring before. Joe Ford, Kellerman, those guys, they've never stepped in the ring, amateur or pro, or they've never trained anybody. So they have no idea really what they're looking at. So you got to go back and watch it on mute. And if you go back and watch it without the biased commentary, I promise you'll swing towards Loma's way. I mean, he landed those clean, hard, meaningful shots that left hand couldn't miss. Haney had no answer for that left hand. And the man threw 4, 5, 6 punch combinations, and he would land with 3, 4 at a time. I mean, Haney had a great body attack, but when you got a smaller guy who's turning a big man, throwing him around the ring, letting him know, hey, I'm stronger. You think you're bigger and stronger, but I'm the man in this ring. I mean, he just looked dominant, and I think it's just a sad decision. But I mean, I think Loma won the fight, but hey, Haney got the decision, and at the end of the day, that's really all that matters.
Yeah.
It's just where the two fighters go from here.
Didn't like the way he jumped out of the ring when Shakur got up there. I was really hoping to see, because that's probably, I would assume that's the next step, either Tank Davis or Shakur Stevenson. But I hope Loma can come back from this. I mean, watching that guy fight is just something else. Did you see Katie Taylor and Chantel Cameron fight?
Didn't see that one, but yeah, you would think that Katie Taylor, she's not getting beaten. She happened to get beat. So
Well,
it
she
shows that
jumped
there's a
up the weight
lot of
class.
talent in the sport, and especially that 135 division that we're talking about. There are a lot of good matchups that are going to be set up for a long time to come.
I got to tell you, look, when you get time, go watch Taylor Cameron. That is one of the most exciting fights that you will see between two women. Like, just nonstop action. I mean, back and forth. It was fantastic. I mean, it'll put you on the edge of your seat, and it was just a good fight. Very exciting. Like you said, yeah. I mean, you never saw Taylor get beat, but I mean, you saw her come out. She pulled in another gear, but that Chantel Cameron, man, she's something else. Like, she's the real deal, man. So I can see her being a champion for a long time. But anyway, guys, so that's all I got, man. I just wanted to see if you'd watched the fights this weekend and what you thought.
Hey, appreciate it, Heath, and definitely
Yes,
we'll go back and watch the Taylor fight.
All right, let's go ahead and quickly try to jump into what's trending in the world of sports.
What's trending in the world of sports is sponsored by Arkansas-based West Rock Coffee. Join West Rock Coffee and their 1.5 million coffee farmers around the globe as they fuel Arkansas with great tasting coffee, tea, and water delivered directly to your business. Contact them at westrockcoffee.com or 833-886-JAVA today.
All right, what's trending in the world of sports over the weekend? In the golf setting, you had Brooks Koepka win the PGA Championship, where he finishes 9 under, and he was saying, hey, this is big for LIV. This is big for the LIV. And for those of you who may be out there that didn't want anybody to win it from the LIV, it was bound to happen sooner rather than later. But great performance out of Koepka. He had Victor Holland finish, as well as with Scotty Scheffler at 7 under. So made it pretty interesting. Bryson DeChambeau did finish 3 under. And Rory at 2 under. So congratulations to Brooks Koepka winning the PGA Championship. Nice performance out of him throughout the whole weekend.
It was good to see him back to his winning ways in majors.
Also in some NBA news, Carmelo Anthony has officially announced his retirement from the NBA after 19 years. It's amazing he's played that long, but he is the number 9 scorer in league history, and he also was not in the NBA actually this season, so he didn't play, but he officially announces his retirement. Always anytime someone retires, like, oh, is there a Hall of Famer? Well, in basketball, we know they definitely open it up for a lot of Hall of Famers. But even if they didn't, I think Carmelo has no worries there. He's a bona fide Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he'll be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And it's good to see that he made the decision to go ahead and move on, move forward, and do something different.
We'll have some other headlines, too, as far as things going on in the world of sports, but we're up against it. We'll take a top-of-the-hour update. When we come back, we'll talk about Razorback baseball as well as SEC baseball with Andrew Ellis. Preview the entire tournament and the bracket and what Arkansas needs to do on that front, and we'll keep it moving here on a Reaction Monday presented by Fleet Management Services. So stay with us here on Out of Bounds. 1 hour down, 2 hours to go. Appreciate everybody listening in on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. John Nabors, Joe Franklin, broadcasting live from the Hogs Meat Market Studios with you today. And thank you, as always, for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon. It's been a great reaction Monday presented by Fleet Management Services. Been reacting to everything over the sports weekend that is taking place. And I know a lot of Razorback baseball fans officially have entered into postseason mode. And with that, I got to give a shout out because just hot off the press, well, breaking news, if you will, Dave Van Horn has officially been named the SEC Coach of the Year. So congratulations to Coach Van Horn. I don't think that there was even a discussion as far as in the SEC that he should have been Coach of the Year. So good to see that there was no coves. There was nothing like that. He is the guy that gets the nod as the SEC Coach of the Year officially. And also, as far as players that earned all SEC honors, Hagen Smith was first team and also defensive team. Kendall Diggs was second team. Gage Wood was freshman team. And Tavion Josenberger was also all defensive team. So a few awards going out there for some Razorback baseball players today.
Cool to see those honors, and they'll accept all those honors as individuals, but it's all about the team, and having team success gives you those honors.
So let's talk more about it as we go to the Jones and Sun Diamond and Bridal Fine Jewelry Hotline and welcome in Andrew Ellis. Friend of the show, does a great job with hogsports.com covering all things Razorbacks, and he joins us now. So Andrew, as always, man, appreciate it. How you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing good, man. Appreciate you having me on as always.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just start with the news. We'll get into the games and everything specifically, but Dave Van Horn being Coach of the Year, Hagen Smith, Diggs, Wood, Josenberger also getting some honors in the SEC. Just what do you make of those accomplishments? And also, do you feel like maybe there were some Razorbacks that maybe got snubbed as far as being on the all SEC teams?
Yeah, I was really pleased to see Van Horn get the nod. I mean, it made a lot of sense. I mean, some years they go by just kind of the best team with the best record. You just kind of give it to that head coach based on whatever. If you want to use that criteria, Arkansas has the best record in the SEC. It was either him or old boy at Florida. So, that criteria works. But when you look at the injuries and you look at what Arkansas has had to overcome, I mean, the arms they've had to do without, moving position players all around. I mean, this is really, we say this all the time. This is Dave Van Horn's best coaching job. But, I mean, just on paper, it made, it would have made no sense to give it to anyone else. I mean, he was unreal. And for them to have the best record given all the circumstances is just quite an accomplishment. And, I was a little interested to see what they would do with Hagen Smith, just because he's obviously one of the best pitchers in the league, and him being first team All SEC isn't a surprise to me. But he started, it was 5 games in SEC play and had 6 outings out of the bullpen. So it's like, do you make him a starter, reliever? Is he just kind of a wild card, as Van Horn calls it? So I was a little interested to see what they would do there, but not surprised to see Kendall Diggs get a nod. I mean, it's really tough to make it as an outfielder, which is why I think Jay Sporfin is going to be one that Hog fans, they don't see his name on the list and they're surprised by that. But I mean, you think about it, you got guys like Dylan Cruz and Ethan Petrie at South Carolina, and just all, so many of the best hitters in the league are outfielders. So even a guy like Jace who's hitting over 330 with 14 home runs, sometimes it's just hard to make it there when there's only 6 spots. But overall, nothing crazy surprising. Could have maybe made an argument for Brady Slavin for the all-defense team, I thought. But other than that, it was nice to see the Hogs represented, and they were represented well.
So regular season just ended, and now they're about to go into SEC tournament play for Razorback baseball. And what's your outlook as they make that transition from the end of the regular season and now get into postseason?
The outlook is interesting. I think, obviously this Vanderbilt series probably left a little bit of a weird taste in folks' mouths, especially that Friday game where they end up giving up 8 runs in the 8th inning. I mean, that's a tough pill to swallow, and obviously not something that makes you feel great about your team. But as crazy as it sounds, I don't see a ton with this team, big picture, that concerns me. I think that the pitching staff struggled a bit this past weekend, and they had all 3 of their starters on pitch counts, which kind of led to that situation. You're not going to have many weekends where Hunter Holland only gives you 2 2/3, where Hagen gives you 5, and Brent Tigers, they continue to ramp him up. I think 4 innings will probably be the minimum for what they're expecting out of him. So I think it's tough to make big picture proclamations on your team given one weekend at the end of the regular season. And when Coach Van Horn even admitted that they kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit and made decisions in that last game, knowing that they already had the regular season title locked up. So a tough series loss, and I think a lot of Arkansas fans took it probably harder than they needed to. But overall, they've got to get some guys going in the lineup. Jay Sportman had a little bit of a quiet weekend, and we've seen other guys kind of step up to fill that void. They need to get everyone clicking at the same time. And if you think back to last year, that's something that didn't really happen until the postseason came around. It felt like the lineup was underachieving, so to speak, and then things just kind of lit up. So we'll see if they can do something similar. We'll see how things look in Hoover. I imagine there's going to be a lot of lineup changes and interesting pitching decisions. But overall, I still feel really good about this team and their chances as we enter the most important time of the year.
So what did go wrong at Vanderbilt? Which I'm with you as far as how crazy it is or people overreacting. I think that there's an element to that, but blowing them out in the game one and then having a significant lead there in game two and losing it the way that they did, there is you got to be a little bit of concern. Like a Gage Wood, he's been so good, but then he kind of crumbled a little bit. Hunter Holland was shaky at times too. It's like you got to get these guys confidence because you're going to need them in postseason, but. Just what went wrong for the Razorbacks and why did they lose that series to Vanderbilt?
I don't want to pinpoint one person or one thing, but I think that the Gage Wood aspect of this whole thing is the most interesting thing to me because, if you think back to last year, Brady Tiger, we all remember this awesome season he had, but if you remember, he kind of hit a wall there as a freshman, kind of around this same time of year where, he wasn't as sharp down the stretch, seemed like his arm might have gotten a little tired. And, in the postseason, they really didn't use him nearly as much as they did in the regular season is because he just kind of hit that wall, and Hagen Smith hit a similar wall before kind of recovering down the stretch. So we'll see if he's able to go, if Gage Wood is able to go the Hagen Smith route where he just kind of has a few weird weeks here and there where maybe he's running out of gas, maybe he's fatigued and he just needs to get his groove back. Or is it a Brady Tiger situation where, Arkansas might have to find different ways to close games in the postseason in the NCAA tournament because, they don't know if they can trust their freshman closer. But overall, I'm not too terribly concerned with it. I think that was probably the biggest, thing that catches your attention because, if everyone wants to talk about the decision in Friday's game to take Zach Morris out of the game after he had thrown 3 scoreless innings, which, the plan all along was to go to Gage Wood, win the game, when it was time to wrap that game up. And, he just didn't wrap it up. And big picture, am I that concerned about it? I don't know yet because I think we got to see him in Hoover. But I think that's really, it pretty much came down to that. If he pitches his 2 innings with a 6-run lead and does fine, then they win the series. They probably don't even throw Hunter Holland in that game 3. So it all kind of came down to that 1 inning. I mean, outside of that 1 inning, Arkansas really outplayed Vanderbilt for the series. But, I think that's just kind of – and we've seen it happen before. It happened to them at Georgia where they just kind of were short on pitching. But, I think this week in Hoover will be nice for Arkansas to reset and, throw some of those young guys and kind of get a more definitive feel of who can we trust as we enter this NCAA tournament. I think that's what this week in Hoover is going to be all about.
Of course, everyone is looking at game 2 in that Vandy series and thinking about the blown lead there, and Arkansas really could have taken control of the series. They would have won the series if they wrapped that game up. But do you think that maybe Vandy was undervalued just a bit because just like Arkansas has been dominant at home this year, Vandy has been really dominant at home?
100% agree with you. I mean, Vanderbilt, weirdly enough, didn't have a couple of their top pitchers this weekend, but I've for all year, I've kind of thought Vandy might be the most complete team in the SEC. If you just look at all the pieces and add it all up and the talent, obviously a head coach in Tim Corbin who's gotten it done. And, another thing is Vanderbilt kind of had their back against the wall coming into this weekend. They had lost 3 of their last 4 series after starting off, I believe it was like 10-0 or 11-0 in SEC play. So they were kind of needing to get back on track, and they were starting to lose hold of their position as a national seed. So you're facing a team in Vanderbilt that's in desperation mode in their home park where they've been really good all year. And, it was they kind of threw it all at Arkansas and, things didn't work out. And I agree with you where it's like, it's a series loss, but I don't know if we need to make it any bigger than that. And I think it just kind of puts a little bit of a sour taste on Arkansas's overall SEC title because it was so close to being an outright definitive one. But, like I said, it is what it is. I hate to say it like this, but you'd rather have weird things like that happen this time of year rather than in a few weeks whenever the games are really starting to matter. And, like we've seen with this Arkansas program over the last few years, it's all about what you do in those big moments come. And, I see a lot of promising pieces with this team, and we'll see if they can click at the right time and really catch a rhythm, which is what last year's team did. Like from the start of the NCAA tournament, you could tell it was just a different feel about that team. And so it'll be interesting to see if they are able to flush this series loss and turn the page, which is something they've done really well throughout the year. I mean, all of their biggest setbacks, they've usually responded pretty well. So we'll see how they respond this week.
So you're the Andrew Ellis of hogsports.com here on the Jones and Sun Diamond and Bridal Fine Jewelry Hotline. So, Andrew, just going into the SEC tournament, what's the approach here? How do you think Dave handles it? How do you think he handles pitching? As far as injuries and all that, do we see to get guys back? Just what's your forecast or your prediction for how the Razorbacks are going to go into this tournament and maybe some of the guys that will or will not play?
I honestly have zero idea who they're going to actually start on the mound in that Wednesday game. If I guess, it would probably be a younger guy. They'll probably want to get some of their top arms like a Hagen Smith, Brady Tiger, Hunter Holland on the mound at some point, but I'll rush them back and pitch them in that Wednesday game. So, that could be a game that they just completely piece together. I know that Van Horn's really talked about wanting to get Christian Fouch, a freshman who it had seemed like he was trending towards being a key piece in that bullpen and then had some setbacks in his last few outings. I think they really want to get him on the mound. And, honestly, I think this week is just, when you're in the position Arkansas is in where you've secured your spot, you're definitely going to be hosting. You're most likely going to be hosting as a national seed. Like, you're able to experiment a little bit this week. So, I think getting Josenberger and Wagner those at-bats and getting them more live pitching going into the tournament, that'll be huge. But I bet you'll see a few different lineup combinations. Someone like Ben McLaughlin getting some start. Someone like Jason Jones gets a start, something like that. And I think you're going to see some young arms, and I think they'll probably have all of their top guys on a pretty strict pitch count and really just treat this as kind of a get-right week mentally and let these guys refresh going into, when the games really start to matter.
How much do you think conference tournaments affect overall seedings and how teams are viewed? Because we do think about a lot of teams this time of the year that have that approach. They know that moving forward, things are submitted in the NCAA tournament. So the conference tournament, it seems like it doesn't have a big effect on their mindset. But as far as the overall seedings, you have LSU and maybe Vandy has a chance to surpass Arkansas in the way that the SEC is viewed. But overall, how do you think it's even affected because of what happens in this conference tournament?
Yeah, like Arkansas, there's not much bad that can really happen to you. Obviously, there's going to be 8 national seeds, and Arkansas, the last projections I've seen, pretty much all of them are in that 3 to 4 and 5 range. Like, they're not even really on the edge of not being a national seed. So, and you're going to play, the thing is, you're going to play teams that are high RPI teams, and if they might play Tennessee in their first game. Tennessee's a top 20 RPI, so if you lose that game, it's not like it really bumps you down any levels. I feel like the tournament has much more implications for teams that are kind of on that bubble or on that edge. Like programs like Auburn and Arkansas, who are recently starting to make a push and possibly could secure a hosting spot. The SEC tournament is a really good opportunity for teams like that to solidify their spot, rather than for a team like Arkansas where it could cost them anything. I feel like it's more about what you can do and less about what you can't do. I feel like it's obviously if you play well in any weekend, especially in the SEC tournament, it can help you. But I really don't see how there's not much downside for a program in a situation like Arkansas. And, even last year, I think back to that Tuesday night in Hoover, Ole Miss was a team that nobody knew if they were even going to make the NCAA tournament. They lose their first game in Hoover, and their fans are assuming their season's over. They end up making the tournament and winning the whole dang thing. So it's like, I think that it's something that in the moment feels a lot bigger than it is. And, Arkansas would like to win. I don't think they're going to go out there and, try not to win these games, but I definitely think that they're not going to be going all max effort on this thing, because I think they know what the situation is, and they know that the real business comes later in the week.
So with the injury to John Bolden, which, it's just why not pick a number? If you haven't been injured yet, it just seems like you're next up to get injured. It's got a sprained ankle situation. His bat hasn't always been there, but defensively he's been on point, and Arkansas's led the league in double plays a lot because of him. Well, what do you know about the situation he's in? And I know it doesn't look like he's going to go this week, but if he can't go or at least can't be a part of the regionals or anything, how do you feel like that impacts Arkansas, especially
before things really start to fire on all cylinders. And I'm just waiting for that weekend where it all comes together at once. And so I'm potential, and they haven't been bad. They've had plenty of success all year, and we've seen different guys get it done each time. But I'd really love to see them just come together and just be that 1 through 9 lineup that teams are not looking forward to going through. And I think they're capable of doing it. And so, for me, I guess not even really this weekend in Hoover, but just moving forward down the stretch, I'm just hoping that Arkansas can kind of put the pieces together and live up to their potential, like I said. And that's probably the most interesting thing going into this week. And I want to see if Tavian Josenberger and Jared Wagner can look a little bit more comfortable as they continue to get back to 100% from their injury.
For what you get out of here, Andrew, just looking at the SEC tournament in general, besides Arkansas, I mean, is there a team that you look at and say, oh, they need wins, or that you think could surprise some people? Who do you think is going to win it? It's like, just how do you feel it plays out this week in Hoover?
There's just so many good matchups, like potential matchups that can happen. I mean, Arkansas and Tennessee, that might be Arkansas's first opponent. So that's one that you're always going to circle. Anytime those two fan bases get together and get after it with one another, that's always fun. But Tennessee and South Carolina, I saw that have pretty much they're not even projected to host anymore. And so I'm interested. There's so many good teams in the SEC, and not all of them can host, but it looks like there could be 7, 8, 9 of these SEC teams in that top 16. So I think that there's a lot to play for a lot of these teams this week. So there's going to be some fun matchups, and it'll be fun to see if there's any of those teams that can go on a run. And then even a team like Georgia, who at this point doesn't look like they're going to get an at-large bid, but I mean, we've seen Georgia compete they've swept Arkansas. They had a really competitive series with LSU this weekend. So maybe a team like that is able to be the surprise of the weekend and go on a run and kind of get their spot in the NCAA tournament. But the SEC tournament in every sport, really, it's always just a fun thing because you never know what to expect. And I feel like the storylines just kind of come out of nowhere. But I look forward to seeing all your brilliant coverage as you're down there in Hoover this week.
Oh, yeah, it will be brilliant. It will be fun, and I guess we'll find out how long I actually get to be there in the fine city of Hoover. So it's going to be a good time, man. But, hey, Andrew, we always appreciate you joining us. Great insight, great stuff. You can check him out on Twitter at Andrew Ellis 247. Also, all of his content on hogsports.com. Have a great week, man, and we look forward to catching up with you later this postseason, all right?
Absolutely. Until next week.
All right, appreciate it. Again, that's Andrew Ellis of hogsports.com joining us on the Jones and Sun Diamond and Bridal Fine Jewelry Hotline. Take a commercial break and come back with more Out of Bounds on Reaction Monday, presented by Fleet Management Services. So stay with us.
a great time to get to Twin Peaks for happy hour 2 to 7, later happy hour 10 to close. Enjoy all the food and drink specials that go along with it. Get a lunch combo starting as low as $7.99. If you want to take some food to go, you can order online, curbside, or to go, courtesy of Postmates, DoorDash, and Uber Eats. Get great drink specials during happy hour. Apps for $2, $4, and $6. Out of Bounds looks forward to being at Twin Peaks once a month. We were there on Friday, had a great time as always. Twin Peaks is 100 lodges strong also across the U.S. and Mexico. So in case you're not here in your home area, you can find a Twin Peaks anywhere. National Wine Day is coming up May 25th on Thursday. So if you're passionate about vino, get to Twin Peaks and celebrate and enjoy National Wine Day. Memorial Day is coming up also. That's a week from today. But Twin Peaks is proud to serve those that serve us today and every day. Get to Twin Peaks to check all the sports action. They have wall-to-wall TVs to see it all, plenty of seating inside and out. NBA playoffs going on right now. You have college baseball conference tournaments coming up, MLB, USFL, Stanley Cup playoffs. There are a lot of sports going on, and not to mention that golf just had the PGA Championship, but you have a tournament every week at golf. So plenty of sports to check out at Twin Peaks. It's Twin Peaks Eats, Drink, Scenic Views.
We're going to get to best and worst of the weekend here in just a second on a Reaction Monday presented by Fleet Management Services. It comes from the 501, though, on our First Arkansas Bank and Trust text line. It says, I hope we don't win a game in the SEC tournament. Just use it for some practice. I think the ones that are struggling will get right back. How many times this year have we thought they were toast and they just kept on winning? Plus, they'll be a bomb. I think the best is still yet ahead for us this season. Go Hogs.
Hopefully that happens.
Optimism.
Just like that.
I love the optimism there, too. Yeah. Also, from the Asher Record Life fan feedback comes from Ashton. He says, I heard on the morning show this morning where Dave Van Horn said in a post-game presser that had he known LSU would have lost to Georgia, then he would have rethought his pitching decisions. If an outright SEC championship is on the line, then why not throw your best arms? As Herm once said, you play to win the game. Well, I would say in response to that, I don't know exactly, Dave Van Horn's thinking and what goes on inside of his head. I know he knows a lot more about it than me, and I'm sure maybe he would have approached when he took guys out or when he put guys in, and maybe balanced it out a little bit more. But at the same time, to me, it's like if you're a SEC champion or SEC co-champion of the regular season, if you're the 1 seed or you're the 2 seed in the SEC tournament, to me, it doesn't really matter. Like if you're co-champ or regular champ, at the end of the day, it's about what you start doing in postseason play when you get to the field of 64. And so, who knows if he would have approached it differently or how he would have done it. But I don't know. I just didn't see it as a thing that didn't really matter as far as, he should have done it this way or had these guys pitch instead of these guys. If he just would have known that they were going to have a share of the title instead of outright.
Well, you always want to win the title regardless. So it's, the team is putting forward the effort of trying to win it, but the mindset does kind of change at times, just depending on the flow of the series, the flow of the game, and it can change how you go about your approach.
Yeah, but listen, he's got plenty of time to prepare and plenty of time to get after it when it comes to the SEC tournament this week in Hoover, which we will be down there for as long as the Razorbacks are down there. We're going to be getting it done here on 103.7 The Buzz. But there's a lot of highlights, a lot of lowlights that happened over the weekend. So let's go ahead and jump into the best and worst of the weekend.
It was the best of times.
In your life, have you seen anything like that?
It was the worst of times.
Nuts and bolts, we got screwed. Third down. It's time for the best and worst of the weekend on Out of Bounds.
All right, it is time for the best and worst of the weekend. And I will go ahead and kick it off with the best of the weekend. And, what were some of the things that ended up happening there. But I thought the PGA Championship overall was pretty entertaining. I thought that the way it was set up and, the drama that went along with it was really good. I thought that the weather was cool. The course was nice. It was just an overall really great event. And, people can feel their way about Brooks Koepka or about Liv or whatever. So from the get-go, I don't really care as much as other people do. And if you do, that's fine. I'm not hating on you for it. My thing is at the end of the day, I think most golf fans who watch those events, they just want to see good golf between good golfers and star power and great moments. Like they want to have that and they want to see that. And that's what's really one of the most important things when it comes to those championships or it comes to those majors or just golf tournaments in general. But also part of that was Michael Block and the great moment that he had when he was a guy that hit a hole-in-one in a way that you'll never see it happen before, where he punched it in. No bounce or anything, just directly into the hole, stuck there. And he's 46 years old. He's just a club champion. Nothing too crazy about him. He's the head pro over at a golf club in California, and he finished 15th. And he had some really great moments too, where now he's been invited to continue on with the PGA Tour event. He's 46 years old. He's going to be at the Charles Schwab Challenge. But I don't know, just stuff like that is really what's so cool. Great golf moments, great moments in sports in general. And to me, that was the best thing from over the weekend.
Had a best for Brooks Koepka for winning the PGA Championship and getting back to winning ways and winning majors. And now he's won 3 of the last 6 PGA Championships. And he's a guy that's dealt with injuries, and this was his way of showing everybody that he's still around. He bounced back big to win another major, and now he's won 5.
Yeah, he's been getting it done, man. And it's hard to hate on the guy for the way he's been performing out on the course, but certainly get it done and got it done over the weekend in the PGA Championship. Actually, I'll move on to worst. The worst of the weekend to me was just the effort by the Celtics yesterday. And I know that we've talked about and dove into the NBA and how both teams in the Eastern Conference and Western Conference finals of the Lakers and Celtics, respectively, are in a hole. They're down 3-0. And, of course, with the Lakers, they get a home game tonight. And then tomorrow, Celtics got to go on the road. So different circumstances, different situations. But it's one thing to lose. But, man, when you know it's on the line and you know that you've lost 2 games at home and you're about to be down 3-0, to put out an effort like that, especially when you got a bunch of guys that have been to championships before and have been on, or at least to finals before, and know what it takes to win at a high level in the playoff, that type of effort was just extremely disappointing. And I think it's disappointing. The series aren't over yet. I think it's just also kind of disappointing that you're sitting at 3-0 with the conference finals right now. I think people wanted to see these extended and see them go for a long way. And who knows, maybe they will. There's still a possibility that could happen. But just really shocking to see where it's at, considering how some of those great games and great series have gone so far in the playoffs. But the Celtics effort yesterday was just absolutely disgusting, and there was no excuse for it, too.
A best to Gabe Vincent and Duncan Robinson. So Gabe Vincent playing for the Miami Heat. He's playing major minutes. He is in that starting role, and Kyle Lowry actually comes off the bench. So credit to Kyle Lowry for helping Gabe Vincent in that position. But he's playing major minutes, scored 29 points. But Duncan Robinson is a guy who's been forgotten about for most of the season, and now his minutes are starting to pick up, and we know that it's about matchups, and sometimes in some series you're going to play more than you play in other series. But in 23 minutes, yesterday's game, he scored 22 points, and he's somebody that's known as a three-point shooter. So when you think about Duncan Robinson, it's always about chasing him off that three-point line. But in the game yesterday, he made an effort to get to the basket. He had some assists where he got other players involved. He just played totally different from what they were trying to take away from him. And that just helped with the team's overall success, the way that he played that game.
Another thing for the worst of the weekend to me was just I had Alabama fans in my Twitter mentions. And you would probably like, why? Why would Alabama fans come out of the woodwork? Well, when Arkansas baseball won the SEC championship in the regular season, I simply tweeted, I was like, SEC champs. How cool is that? Or, something like that. And then they were all coming back. They're like, oh, we were told that you said it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because we won in basketball. SEC championships don't matter in the regular season. Nobody cares. It doesn't matter. Well, hold on a second. For all you Alabama fans out there that may be a little on the slower side, let me explain something to you. It is an accomplishment that you can celebrate. But as an SEC regular season title, at least in the sport of basketball and in baseball, if you want to be considered a big-time program or you have a high expectation for your program, you do not base a successful season on, winning the SEC regular season title. Let me explain this to you in another way. If this year LSU goes to the College World Series and Arkansas lost in the regionals, and LSU fans gave Hog fans crap because they're like, aha, you're in the regional, you lost, we're in the World Series. Would you come back and say, yeah, well, SEC regular season title, what's up? No, you wouldn't do that. Or at least you shouldn't do that because that's dumb. That's the point that I'm making. is that SEC regular seasons are something to celebrate if you end up winning the regular season title. It's a cool accomplishment, and it shows how great of a season you had. But when it comes to what you define an entire complete season on success or disappointment or average or whatever it may be, it's about what you do in the field of 64, or in the case of basketball, the field of 68. So I think it's funny that Alabama fans still hold on to that. And I'm like, that just goes to show you once again that you're not a basketball or a baseball program if you don't understand what all is going on and how it all was done. So anyways, always love SEC fans. But like I told Acree, as a Razorback fan, I hate everybody equally. So, it's not like I hate one school more than the other ones. You guys are all just really upsetting and really annoying to me as well.
So the Celtics get a worse, not for the game performance overall, but the game kind of got away from them in that third quarter. They were down by 15 at halftime, and 15 in the NBA and in basketball in general, that's not a deficit that you can't overcome. But when you come back from halftime and then you go into that third quarter, that's where the game gets out of hand. They get outscored by another 15 in that third quarter, and then that's when the Celtics are down by 30, and it looks like a deficit that can't be overcome. If you're down by that in the first half, you got plenty of time. But when you get down by 30 and you're down by 30 going into the fourth quarter, that's when the game is over, and the game was won by the Heat in the third quarter. So it's just you think about going into halftime, making those adjustments, and coming back and playing a better brand of basketball when you're down. And they played worse coming back from halftime. Down by 30, they end up losing by 26.
Also, I want to revert, but also a little best that I forgot to do. But Stan and Little Rock on our first Arkansas Bank & Trust text line came out and said that, hey, John, I thought your best would be birdieing number 17 at Rebsman, because I actually did play golf at Rebsman, and I actually shot pretty well, and I did have a birdie. And Stan there in Little Rock got to meet him. He was out there on the course, and he was right behind us. He's an avid listener of the Buzz and here on the show, so wanted to give him a shout out, and he did bear witness. He did see it. It did happen. I did find a way to birdie one hole of the entire 18. I got one hole. So, but it was good to be out there, and good to see Stan and Little Rock, and especially, because you always see his texts show up, and when he texts us on the show or on the Buzz, I'm like, all right, now I can put a face to the message now and know all about it. So.
Now, this is a different Stan than Stan that calls in.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Want to make
so
sure
everybody
we clarify.
knows that.
This is not the one that's going to look at you funny. This is a different Stan in Little Rock who texted in. So, in fact, when he introduced me, he says, I'm Stan in Little Rock. He's like, no, but not that Stan. I was like, no, I figure, because you were coming up on me saying that I was going to look at you funny for certain things. But either way, it's good seeing you, good meeting you, Stan, and appreciate you listening into the show. And yeah, that one birdie, that's all it took. That was definitely a best of the weekend, at least for me personally. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll get to your Razor Hog update presented by True Service. Get to hear from Dave Van Horn, as well as some other updates there, too. And we will continue with the Reaction Monday presented by Fleet Management Services. So if you want to react to something, or if you want to get in on the conversation, call or text in 501-661-1037. More Out of Bounds coming up. It's Reaction Monday presented by Fleet Management Services today. But, folks, the reactions that I've been getting with Bet Saracen and the money that I've been making with Bet Saracen, betting on everything over the sports weekend, has been phenomenal. And if you haven't got on the Bet Saracen app, you need to get on it. I don't know what you're waiting on. Like, what's the point? What's the problem that you got going on? What's something wrong with you? Don't you love sports? Don't you love making money? Of course you do. So download the Bet Saracen app, and you can also go on betsaracen.com and start to get betting that way as well. And the great thing about it is they have different specials. And when I say specials, it's not like, okay, well, here's just a couple parlays. They do it for all different sports and all different styles, and they like to have fun with it. We know with the NBA playoffs going on, they have a Why So Serious special, from the Joker, from the Dark Knight, and who's playing? Of course, Jokic, the Joker. It all makes sense. So they like to have fun with it, but it's called the Why So Serious, where you're talking about a big-time payout if Jokic records a 40-point triple-double and the Nuggets win Game 4 plus 2250. That's incredible. How about Los Angeles? This is for you. They have that special too. If LeBron James scores a 40-point triple-double and the Lakers win Game 4 plus 5,000. So if you think one of those are going to happen, you can only get that special with Bet Saracen. They also have NHL. They got MLB specials going on there too. They got it all. So if you have yet to get on the Bet Saracen app, stop what you're doing. Get on it. Download it. Start seeing the type of money and the type of specials you'll get. I promise you, you will not be disappointed with Bet Saracen and also betsaracen.com. We'll have Peyton Stovall joining us on the other side of the break. Looking forward to catching up with him and talking about the Razorback baseball team coming up into Hoover. As we know, they just made the trip down there. They're already there in Hoover, and they're going to have some practices today. And then, of course, a little bit something tomorrow, I'm sure, meetings, whatnot, and then they'll get ready for their game on Wednesday, whoever they end up playing, which will be the winner of the Tennessee-Texas A&M series. But let's go ahead and jump into your Razor Hog update presented by True Service.
Guys, I've got just one thing I want to say to you. Touchdown, Arkansas!
Arkansas wins the national championship! The Arkansas Razorbacks have completed the dream season!
Hogs by 90!
This is your Razor Hog Update on Out of Bounds, presented by True Service Community Federal Credit Union, where they offer new mortgage loans, refinancing, auto loans, and small business loans. Online at trueservice.net.
All right, so for your Razor Hog updates, the Razorback baseball team lost Game 3 against Vanderbilt, and here's what Dave Van Horn had to say in recapping that game.
Just really proud of the team. We talked about it the week before SEC plays. We talked about the importance of when you get a chance to win a game, win it. Win that Sunday game, you got a chance to sweep, and we did that, 3 times or so this year, and they all count the same. And once we got to the 4th inning today, we found out that Georgia won, and we had won the West and the SEC championship, and I think that was about the time that McIntyre was rolling along pretty good. We scored a few runs, took the lead by 2, and we thought we were going to be safe and get him out. I think if we had left him in, he probably could have gone another couple innings, but we just didn't want to chance it. We thought, well, we'll get through this inning with these young guys that want to do it, saying they want the ball, and it didn't go very good, obviously. So we had our opportunities. We had runner on first and second, nobody out, top of the order up, and we didn't move anybody around. So that was disappointing. I think we had an inning in the 3rd inning. We had runners first, second, nobody out. We didn't score. So in the 4-run inning, I was really good to see those 2 out base hits, stolen bases. It was good baseball right there. But just really excited to be SEC champs. So hard to do and share that crown with Florida. We didn't play Florida. So it's kind of mixed emotions right now. Frustrated because we lost the game. Felt like we could have won it. Wasn't that we weren't trying to win it. I think if we would have known that LSU would have beat Georgia, we definitely would have pitched differently going into that 6th inning.
Also, Dave Van Horn has plans for after this series, also what he's going to be doing heading into Hoover.
Yeah, once we get out of here, we're going to stop and eat as a team at a place down the road in Franklin, I think, and then head on into Hoover and let the guys relax a little bit and give them tomorrow off as well. And then we'll get a little workout in a couple days in a row and try to get some things squared away, get some guys healed up a little bit. And, yeah, just, as far as the games, we're going to try to win them, but definitely going to mix it up a little bit. We don't know who we're going to pitch yet. We got 2 or 3 hours on the bus to discuss that a little bit.
Well, one guy that probably won't be pitching, Hunter Holland, who, of course, is on Out of Bounds each and every week thanks to McClards. Here's what Dave Van Horn had to say about his outing over the weekend and how he looks at him going forward.
His step wasn't bad. I just think that we weren't planning on pitching him very long today, if possible. Would have been a lot easier. We might not even have pitched him today if we'd have won yesterday. So throwing the ball around the plate, wasn't really putting it on. They did a nice job of they nickeled and dimed him pretty good. You talk about bloopers and cat balls, and he made good pitches, and they just found holes. You're kind of going, wow. He was a little frustrated with it, and he pitched out of a jam or two. So this will give him an opportunity to rest a little bit.
Dave Van Horn wins SEC Coach of the Year, so congratulations to him. And there's your Razor Hog update presented by True Service. Real quick, squeeze in before we take a top of the hour update. 49er John. What's up, 49er John?
What's up? How y'all fellas doing today?
Doing good.
Good. What time is it? 2:57 p.m.?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No mention of Jim Brown. Rest in peace. Icon. We lost the icon, guys. We lost somebody just as big as Bill Russell. Your guy, John.
Guess what?
This guy.
That happened on Friday when we were at Twin Peaks, and we talked about Jim Brown a lot Friday at Twin Peaks.
Okay. Forgive me. I wasn't able to catch the whole show, but I figured it would be more than just one day. They portrayed the queen, and she's not even America, on TV for days. Jim Brown should get that same respect for days.
Okay, well, listen, 49er John, we're up against it. Like, we didn't even talk about the Queens. I don't even know what your point is. Anyways, thanks for the call. Moving on, we got hopefully Peyton Stovall on the other side of the break, as he might be out of practice, but we'll let you know, and we'll keep it moving in the third hour of Out of Bounds coming up. 2 hours down, 1 hour to go. Appreciate everybody listening in on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. John Nabors, Joe Franklin, casting live from the Hogs Meat Market Studios with you today. And thank you, as always, for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon. We're going to have Peyton Stovall on still with us, folks. Don't worry. He's actually going to join us at 3:30, so we're just pushing him back a little bit. Thanks to A-State Construction. They just got out of practice, so we'll still have a chance to catch up with him. And we're going to continue with our reactions, too. So we want to hear from you here in this segment. 501-661-1037 is that number to call or to text in. Get after us in the Asher Record Live fan feedback. After me on Twitter at BuzzJohnNabors. And I know that there's going to be some fun to be had with Peyton, but we also had some other storylines and headlines that we didn't really get a chance to dive into when it came to what's trending in the world of sports, just because we did run out of time. But a few things, though, I wanted to bring up, and, it's been as far as some other headlines, too, is that the NFL thought this was kind of a fun little deal. The NFL owners approve an emergency third quarterback proposal. Thought this was pretty fascinating, where they allow teams to designate an emergency quarterback on game day, a rule they revived after the San Francisco 49ers ran out of quarterbacks during their loss of the NFC Championship game against the Eagles. The rule only applies to quarterbacks who are on a team's 53-man roster. Practice squad players are not eligible to be emergency quarterbacks, not even if they are elevated for that week's game, but it allows a team to avoid counting the emergency quarterback as one of the active players on game day, a modest incentive for teams that would otherwise have chosen to go into the game with only 2 available quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's long overdue, and it will change rosters now where teams, not only for game day, but teams that typically only carry 2 quarterbacks, now maybe you'll see some of these teams start to carry 3 quarterbacks throughout the entire season.
Yeah, because it also says the emergency quarterback will be eligible for in-game activation if the rest of the team's quarterbacks are unable to participate due to injury or ejection. So if somebody gets ejected as a quarterback, it at least counts that way too, but not as a result of a benching. If one other quarterback is cleared to return to the game, the emergency quarterback must be removed at that time and can only return if there is once again no other option. Apparently, this is a rule with the XFL and the USFL. They both applied a similar rule this spring. And the NFL, I didn't even realize this, but I guess I forgot about it. The NFL itself used the rule from 1991 to 2010. During the 2011 collective bargaining agreement with the NFL and the NFLPA, though, decided to increase the overall limit of game day active players rather than limit it to just one position. So, man.
So now the wonder comes in, are these guys actually going to suit up and be in uniform, or is it only they still will just suit up if there's a need for them to suit up? That's going to be a difference in itself also, because you see these guys, when teams do carry that third quarterback, you see them on game day, and they're just helping out the other quarterbacks, some of the things they may see. And some teams may still take that approach where this would be one of their inactive players anyway.
Well, I think it's something to where, obviously, the 49ers and what they went through this past year was kind of reason in the spirit of the rule coming back to it. But it's not something that happens very often, and you don't want it to happen. You don't want to see anybody get injured, especially. But they also, I think everybody understands, and especially with the NFL, how valuable the quarterback position is. And, that's one of those deals to where the amount of times they get hit and how sometimes fragile that they can be. And, you don't want to be putting yourself in a situation, especially like if it's the playoffs and whatnot, where it's like, yeah, sorry, you're just going to have to figure it out. Throw somebody there that can make it work. This at least provides them an out, or at least an adjustment, even though it's a rare thing and it doesn't happen very often. At least provides them a rule in place to where it's like, we can do something about it if it ever happens again, instead of just having to go with it and make it work.
Well, we know how valuable backup quarterbacks are, and now third team quarterbacks, they're becoming just as valuable when you think about the need for them. And we saw that.
It's sad because I feel like in most cases, nobody really even cared to know who some of the third string quarterbacks were in the NFL. And now, because of that fact, you're saying, say, hey, you could be finding you could find yourself in a situation where, like, quite a few third string quarterbacks because of the injuries and because of the issues that come along with it there too. So it's unfortunate. And again, you don't ever want it to happen, but as we talked about with Razorback baseball or just sports in general, injuries happen. It's unfortunate, but it does happen there.
And a lot of times, if you're down to your third string quarterback, it's probably not going to go well for the team. The Niners, that was a different circumstance where it was almost like plug and play. You plug these quarterbacks in, and they were still having that overall team success. But for most teams, it's not going to work the same way.
Also, I thought this was pretty fascinating too, Joe, and I'm sure you'd have a thought on it. But we know with the Steelers and, of course, Big Ben Roethlisberger, who was a franchise quarterback there for many years, he had on Kenny Pickett on his podcast, Footballing with Ben Roethlisberger, over the weekend, and he said, quote, he admitted to this. He says, I quote, "I'll be completely honest. I'll be super transparent here, and I'm going to get blasted. I probably shouldn't say this." I mean, so he's already got 4 straight sentences there where he's already like hesitating, but he says, who cares at this point? I wouldn't say that I wanted Kenny to necessarily fail, but when someone comes to replace you, I still feel like I had it. I hope he doesn't come in and ball out, because then it becomes Ben who.
That could be a common thought with a lot of players. And you see players take either that approach where, if a quarterback is on the roster at the same time, or, you can look at any position, they're on the roster at the same time. Some players take the approach of, it's not my job to get the next player ready, because in reality, you realize that player is coming to take your job. This is in an even different circumstance where Ben wasn't even on the roster, but at the same time, he's thinking about how his legacy could be looked at with the next player in line. And that's something that everybody is going to think about, because think about with Brett Favre, with Aaron Rodgers on the roster at the same time, he said it wasn't up to him to help Aaron Rodgers. And now you have a certain set of Packers fans that they hold Aaron Rodgers in a higher regard than they did Brett Favre. They think, looking at the overall career, that both guys had similar success in winning one Super Bowl. But also, when you look at Aaron Rodgers and the talent that he has, there are some fans that hold him in a higher regard. And so Brett Favre may have had those thoughts also at one time.
I think that this is actually a lot more common, and probably like the majority of players in that situation, or coaches or whoever in sports, feel the same way. They just may not say it, or maybe they do a better job of hiding it. And maybe some are so self-confident in themselves that they're like, hey, not Ben who or whatever. I'm not saying that Ben Roethlisberger is not confident in himself, but point is like, I feel like there's just in any regard of life, if somebody had a job out there that they were really good at, that the company that they worked for all loved them, and everything was going great. You built this company, you made it into what it was. You were such a big impact. You were revered. You were respected. And then you get to the point where it's like, it's time for me to hang it up. I'm going to retire. And then you retire, and they're like, well, here's your replacement. This is the guy we're going to be bringing in, just to let you know. This is our guy. He's a young guy, energized, all of that. You're probably like, okay, nice to meet you. All right. We'll see how you do, buckaroo. It's just, you kind of probably have that element where it's like, I want everyone to realize how much I put into the work and how big and how important I was to this company, or to this franchise in this case, to where it's just a matter of, getting that satisfaction and knowing that, it wasn't just a plug and place thing. It wasn't a system. You weren't a system quarterback. You were somebody that built up and did a lot of great things. And so I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of quarterbacks, great quarterbacks, especially franchise quarterbacks, by the time they call it quits, is like, the next person that's coming in, I hope they struggle a little bit, so I'll still be remembered and still be respected for what I was.
Well, it shows growth for Ben to go from beginning to feel that way at the beginning of the season. And then as you get towards the end of the season, after Kenny Pickett's rookie season, you realize that there is a bigger picture and that you won't be forgotten about. And it was kind of the same thing with Ben Roethlisberger and Terry Bradshaw. The comparisons are always going to be there, but it isn't about one player, and that, you say that this is the one player that everybody identifies, he's the guy. You can have multiple guys that had success within that franchise and that fans think about, in a sense that these are players that help this team win at a high level. And so you don't have to narrow it down to say that this player was better than the other. Ultimately, it's about the team in the end.
Well, Ben Roethlisberger went on to say in that same podcast, when he's talking to Kenny Pickett, he says, early on, I didn't want you to succeed because you followed me up. I didn't want it to happen. I think that's probably the selfishness of me. I feel bad for it. But as you started playing, I found myself rooting for you more and more. I wanted you to succeed. I wanted you to win games. I wanted you to go to the playoffs. I feel bad that I felt that early on, but I'm glad it transitioned to loving and rooting for you as a Steeler. So he's not only grown in just being able to admit it, but grown in just a very quick period of time where he's like, I didn't want that at first, but now here I am. I'm hoping that, you're successful and you do great things for the Steelers too. So
Also, at the end of the day, Ben Roethlisberger is a Steeler, and he wants to see the Steelers do well. And so, with some of the downs that they had early in the season and the way that they were able to bounce back and have a chance to, they made a run at the end of the season, had a chance to possibly get in the playoffs. That was incorporated in the team's overall success. And so that probably had a lot to do with the way that Ben was able to get over it also, because in the end, he wanted to see the team do well, and they were doing well at the end of the season.
what has Big Ben doing, right? Is he just hanging out?
That's
doing
it.
podcasts?
Yeah, footballing with Ben Roethlisberger,
Yeah.
where they talk about, sometimes they have the episodes lined up with a game where they're actually watching the game and they can talk about the game, but they talk about the game, they talk about some things from the past, they do beer samplings during the show. So they do a lot of different things all together during the show, but those are just some of the elements that are involved in it.
I thought I like the title of the podcast is not only is it just footballing with Ben Roethlisberger, but footballing spelled FOOTBAHLIN. So footballing. It's spelled a little bit differently. So, but yeah, it was pretty fascinating to hear from Big Ben. But I feel like there's so many. It's not a bad thing, but just so many players that a lot of times will do that, where they'll just kind of start a podcast. I think Jay Cutler did that same thing too once he got out of the NFL, starting up a podcast and doing it his way. And a lot of former players do it sometimes solo, sometimes with other former players too, to make it work. So, but hey, as long as he's
How about the
living his
Kelsey
best
brothers?
life, yeah,
They're doing it as they're active players.
yeah. And is Draymond Green, right? He has his podcast, right?
Yeah.
Is it called just the Draymond Green podcast?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Draymond does some stuff for TNT. So
Yeah.
you can tell that it's a changing of the guard as far as the dynamic of being a player, being in the media post-career. Now you have a lot of players that are involved in the media during their career.
Yeah, because before, especially with the social media aspect and podcasts and all that, the only way that you could really get messages out to the masses is just going through the traditional media routes. And now it's like, hey, I don't want to be misconstrued in what I'm trying to say or get framed a certain way, so I'll just say it straight to the people so they won't have to worry about it. But yeah, it's what a lot of athletes and current and former athletes end up doing too. And speaking of former NFL players and NFL quarterbacks, Tom Brady, we know that he's got his life going on and enjoying himself, at least the best of his ability and everything. But he apparently had a conversation with Bryce Young, which of course we know was the number 1 overall pick with the Carolina Panthers. And Bryce Young was meeting with the media and said that I have never thrown an NFL pass in a game. I have no stats, no wins, nothing. We're all on an even playing field. Once you get into the league where you get drafted, that doesn't entitle me to anything. I have to work as hard as I can to make sure every day I'm trying to get better and every day I'm trying to improve. That's what Tom Brady told me. So thought that, talk about Ben Roethlisberger meeting with, a quarterback with the Steelers. In this case for Tom Brady, not that he played for the Panthers or anything like that, but he's also giving advice to some of these incoming guys as well, trying to get them hyped up and pumped up and confident in themselves heading into their first year as an NFL quarterback too.
Tom Brady has been a mentor to a lot of quarterbacks here in the last few years. Another one that he works with is Shedeur Sanders. So he's a guy that's had all the success at the highest level. He's been the greatest winner when it comes to the quarterback position as far as number of Super Bowls, been to the most Super Bowls at the quarterback position. So no surprise that a lot of players want to reach out to Tom Brady and kind of get his input on how to be successful, how to go about doing certain things as a pro. But it's great for Tom Brady to be accepting of that and wanting to give back to these players.
Because if I was a quarterback, I mean, who and you take advice, or you'd at least be thinking it'd be great to hear from particular quarterbacks and how they play. But man, if it was Tom Brady, I was like, if there's a guy that how to do it, how to do it the best way, it's Tom Brady. And so if I had a chance to hear advice from him, absolutely, I would do it in a heartbeat. So, but it's cool that Tom is, because some people, I say some people. I always felt like when I was rooting against Tom Brady at every turn because he was a Patriot and he's so good with the Patriots, I was like, this guy's a jerk. He doesn't care about anybody else but himself. He's very arrogant, like blah, blah, blah. But, as time goes on and you see, him going out and helping other quarterbacks and trying to give them advice and everything, that's just a cool thing. So just another another reason to be excited about that and what Tom Brady's doing too. And also in some other NFL news, because again, we got the situation here with the OTAs, but Lamar Jackson was absent from the start of the Ravens OTAs today, but they said that he is expected to report at the team at some point in time this week. So
not a big deal. Preakness happened over the weekend, and that is in Baltimore. A lot of the Ravens were there, and so it's not as if he caught anybody by surprise by not being there. They were fully aware he wasn't going to be there. Now the public, it may be caught by surprise that he's not there, and the Ravens don't have to explain anything, but they did in a sense.
Also, First Arizona Bank and Trust text line, Just Chuck says, now Ben and Pickett can bond rooting against Mason Rudolph. So that's where he says that's where they can bond.
Now, yeah, maybe so. Maybe that is the case because Ben, he didn't want anything to do with Mason Rudolph as far as him coming in and having any type of success. But Mason Rudolph is somebody who has a veteran experience, and he is the third string quarterback. So he'll be able to help Kenny Pickett from the side. And as we talked about with some of these third string quarterbacks, they're almost like coaches in a sense where they can see certain things happening and give their input to the players that are on the field because they see it from a different stance. They're not caught up in the action.
Also, he says, Just Chuck says, John, as a self-respecting Razorbacks fan, you should hate Tom Brady because of the 1999 Citrus Bowl. I don't care about the Citrus Bowl. I mean, yeah, it would have been nice, but like now, if they would have done something like in a championship game or something like that, or if Arkansas got cheated in a game or something like that, okay. But yeah, the Citrus Bowl, come on now. Like I don't even know who Tom Brady was at that point in time. I don't think anybody did. But also from the Asher Record Live fan feedback, a few people that are chiming in. As this comes from Jeff. He says, has Dave Van Horn ever won any SEC coach or national coach of the year before? Thanks, asking for a friend. And answer your question, yes, he has won the SEC coach of the year. I believe this is his third time, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe he won it in 2004 and then in 2021 when they had one of the best records in baseball. So, and number one team. I don't think he's won national coach of the year. I'll look it up for you though. But yeah, that's a good question there too. Let's go back to phone lines. We got JK who's in Fairfield Bay. What's up, JK?
Hey guys, I've been wondering. I haven't heard much about Traylon Burks. Joe, could you comment on what they did in the draft? And I haven't heard anything about his injuries. I'm sure he's probably healed, but just comment about that and thank you.
Thanks, JK. Now, Traylon Burks, something that he said going into OTAs this season is he's gotten over having to deal with asthma. That was something that he had to adjust to going from the college level to NFL. Once he got into mini camps, even starting with the rookie mini camp, that was something that he didn't realize exactly what they were doing at the time and how much he was going to have to deal with it. But he said he's been able to put that behind him because he knows what it takes now because he's been there for a season and he's worked through everything. And some of the other injuries, the ankle injury, he's healed from that. But he's looking forward to the second season and playing a lot better in the second season than he did in his rookie season. A lot of that does have to do with injury, and you never can forecast when that's going to happen. But just thinking about how his body feels right now, he feels good going into the second season.
Definitely. And we're rooting for Traylon Burks, and hopefully he can find a way to continue to see the field and stay healthy and get out there for the Titans because he's phenomenal whenever he's in the game. And he can be a big-time player for them as well. We're up against it. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, Peyton Stovall is going to be joining us as we'll talk a little SEC tournament with him. And you won't want to miss it, so stay tuned here on Out of Bounds. It's Out of Bounds on a Reaction Monday. And folks, I'm giving a great reaction over here to interest rates over with Guadney Chevrolet, because we know at this point in time of the year, you're trying to get you something new, something nice, some sort of vehicle that you can get yourself in and get you ready for the summertime when you're going to be doing all that traveling. Look no further than Guadney Chevrolet, because on new vehicles, brand new vehicles, like 2023 new vehicles, how about this? Super low, 1.9% APR with Blazers, Equinoxes, Trailblazers, Traverses, Silverados, all those new vehicles, 1.9% APR. You cannot find a better deal than that. And say if you're looking to sell a vehicle too, they're still buying. Anytime of late model vehicles, and if you have one to sell, just take it over to Guadney Chevrolet and they will hook you up. They'll give you an offer, an appraisal, write you a check. Simple as that. They also have 90 days with no payments. So if you're someone that's trying to get in and get a little relief there with a new vehicle, no payments for 90 days. And they have a pre-owned selection. They got inventory. They got award-winning sales and service. They got it all at Guadney Chevrolet. So when you need your new vehicle, don't even look anywhere else. Go to Guadney Chevrolet there in Jacksonville off the Gregory Street exit, 1301 TP White Drive. You can also shop them online at GuadneyChevrolet.com. Arkansas Razorback baseball team getting ready big time for the SEC tournament there in Hoover. I'll be down there. The Buzz will be down there. And Peyton Stovall will be down there too, so let's go ahead and welcome him in.
Peyton Stovall leads off the fifth inning. Stovall swings and drives the first pitch to deep right center. There it goes. Peyton Stovall out of here. Pitch to Stovall, hammer to deep right field. Stovall's at a 2-run homer. Wow. Where did he get all of that?
Bomb. Peyton Stovall on Out of Bounds is presented by A-State Construction in Sheridan, building new homes in Central Arkansas for the past 18 years. See their new home builds on Facebook at A-State Construction LLC.
All right, let's go to the Jones & Son Diamond and Bridal Fine Jewelry Hotline and welcome in our guy, Peyton Stovall. And Peyton, appreciate you joining us this afternoon, man. How you doing?
I'm good, guys. How are y'all?
Man, we're awesome. And I know that is a little bit disappointing for the Razorbacks not being able to take care of business against Vanderbilt in that series, but now you're heading in to the SEC tournament, co-champions of the SEC, winning the SEC West outright. I know it's postseason time right now, but Peyton, just kind of reflect on the regular season and what it means to you and the team to call yourselves SEC champions and SEC West champions.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just testament to our team and how hard that we've worked all year. You could go back and look at all the predictions and all the preseason stuff. We weren't ranked really high up there in the West, and I think it goes back to just really good coaching and just a lot of hard work, and we've done that all year. And so I couldn't be more proud of this team, and super excited for our guys. And we've worked for this, and we weren't able to get it done at Vanderbilt, but still being able to win the SEC was huge. And like I said, just very proud of the guys overall for the whole season.
So now that you guys are in Hoover, just what's the vibes like? What's the mentality like for the team? I know that during the regular season, it's all very routine, but now it's changed up a little bit. Just how do you feel about the vibes this year heading into the SEC tournament, maybe compared to last year when you guys were in it?
Yeah, I mean, last year, we went to Alabama and we weren't able to come out with the SEC West, unfortunately, last year. But being able to go into the tournament and still knowing that we won the SEC, that's really big. Nobody's down, nobody's upset. We got a good seeding. We like our chances, and so we're just excited to go out there and get on the field and compete at the SEC tournament. It's always a really nice week. They got some cool stuff for us in the hotel, and the field's awesome. There'll be a lot of fans there and stuff, but it's going to be really fun, man. We're going to do what we can to go as far as we can and hopefully make a good run in this tournament. So we're looking forward to it, and we're excited to get it rolling Wednesday.
So, Peyton, I know that you're always a guy who, of course, has your team's back, and now that you had to suffer that season-ending injury, I know you're even more so. You're going to be there, first one there for helping out your teammates. But over the week, I know a guy like Gage Wood, a freshman, he had his struggles and coming out, and when something like that happens, what's not only your role but also the rest of the team's role whenever a player does have a struggle, especially a young kid, and trying to get him back up and block it out of his memory and move forward to the next week? Because I'm sure for especially a freshman, it's probably hard to just shake it off and go on to the next game.
Sometimes it just gets too big for me. Hagen would do the same thing. There'd be spots where he'd struggle a little bit too, but you just gotta work out past it. Throughout the freshman season, it's really tough. It's a grind. The baseball that you're playing at such a young age, being a freshman, is really tough playing against these guys. And he'll work through it. Everybody's seen our team. We believe in him. We have confidence in him, and we know that he's going to be just fine. We're going to need him for the postseason, and to be able to make a run, we're going to need that guy. And so, just being there for him, picking him up, boosting his confidence whatever way you can, because that's really all it is. When you're confident, you go out there and you just throw it. You're not trying to guide the pitch. You're not trying to worry about locating where it is. You just get up there with confidence. And some of our older guys, older pitchers, they've been there for him since that. And he'll be fine. And like I said, we have all the confidence in the world in him.
Speaking with Peyton Stovall, Razorback baseball player here on the Jones and Sun Diamond and Bridal Fine Jewelry Hotline, thanks to A-State Construction. Peyton, another player that had to suffer an injury, unfortunately, over the weekend was John Bolton, which I know a guy you played a lot alongside with, and all the double plays you guys turned. Bolton was such a huge part of it. It looks like a sprained ankle. Just how's he holding up? How's he doing? And what's kind of the situation he finds himself in?
Yeah, like you said, him and Ho went for a ball against Vanderbilt. John made an unbelievable play. Holt was going for the ball, and Holt didn't think there was any chance that anybody else could get it, so he kind of didn't call it. And at the last second, John they ended up getting that collision. But he sprained his ankle. He'll be fine. He's just resting it right now. Just trying to get that thing healthy. And but like I said, just a minor sprained ankle, and here before long he'll be back out there.
Peyton, what do you think of the team overall going into this SEC tournament? You guys know exactly where you stand, and then after that it'll be regional, which will be at home. But going into the SEC tournament, you're going to see some of the lineups kind of mix and match, and just getting ready for postseason play right now.
Yeah, for sure. The tournament will be awesome to win, but you want to stay healthy and really get ready for postseason play. And our guys we're still worried about getting 100% healthy with what we have. We want to come down here and even if we don't win this whole thing or win the tournament, we just want to play good baseball and just playing clean baseball, throwing strikes, making plays behind our pitchers. Line up, getting the ball well, just all the momentum that you can get going into the postseason, because it's only going to help.
I know that you guys are going to have a regional and hopefully a super regional in Fayetteville, which is awesome, and being a national seed. But since you got to go to a neutral field there in the SEC tournament there in Hoover, you guys played earlier this year in Globe Life, and I know you've played it in various other places. Is that something that really prepares you and helps as a team to get ready for something like this, where it's a ballpark you haven't really know much about, and there's a bunch of different teams in there? Does those neutral site games always kind of get you a little bit more prepared for this particular tournament?
Just playing on the road in general just gets you prepared for a tournament like this, postseason stuff. Because, if you might host some regionals or super regionals, but your ultimate goal is to go to Omaha. Well, you're not going to be playing at home for Omaha, so just playing on the road as much as you can is always a good experience, and it builds it builds the adversity that you're going to face in the postseason, and so when that time comes in the postseason, you're going to be prepared because of the games that you played on the road, especially the environment that we play in. In the SEC is always really tough, and so having that in the past behind us, playing at some nice venues throughout the SEC, it's going to help us going into this tournament and the postseason.
What's the Hoover experience like overall? Because you play there every year, and you realize that at the end of the season, when it comes tournament time, that you're going to be in Hoover. Are there certain things about that ballpark that stand out to you, and just the overall experience in playing in Hoover?
Yeah, it's a really good time. We're given like a gift bag, and they got a game room at our hotel where all the players stay, all the teams stay at the same hotel, and so they got a game room that you can play some pool in, ping pong, a bunch of stuff like that. So it's really neat. Ballpark wise and stuff, it kind of gives you like I guess kind of like an Omaha feel per se, because there's so many different fans from different teams that are there, just kind of like Omaha is. So it's a big ballpark. The ballpark plays really big. It's a pitcher-friendly ballpark, and so being able to play in that environment, it's going to get you ready for the postseason. So it's a really good experience. It rains a lot, so you always got to be kind of ready, for rain delay or whatever it is. But it's always fun to come here and play and just spend the whole week with pretty much all your teammates and the guys.
Well, Peyton, man, we really appreciate you joining us. I know it's a crazy schedule for you, but we appreciate you squeezing us in, man. Have fun there in Hoover, and good luck to your team there in Hoover. And we look forward to catching up with you next week and doing a little previewing of the Fayetteville Regional, man.
Sounds good, guys. I appreciate it. Talk to y'all next week.
All right, appreciate it. Again, that was Peyton Stovall, Razorback second baseman, joining us on the Jones & Son Diamond and Bridal Fine Jewelry Hotline, thanks to A State Construction. We will take our final commercial break. When we come back, we'll get to 3 and Out, some headlines, some storylines, some things that we got to dive into and get you ready for Drive Time Sports. All next here on Out of Bounds on a Reaction Monday, presented by Fleet Management Services. All right, it is time for 3 and Out. A few headlines, a few storylines, a few things that we got to dive into. And first off, something that wanted to mention from the sports side of things, too. Actually, you know what? I guess we did mention that. We did talk about that. So, okay, well, I'll just move on and say never mind to that one. But, and a more fun thing, I had some friends of mine that ended up in Boston for the Taylor Swift concert. I think I talked about that and how kind of weird it was that it's not just a bunch of friends of mine that are girls. No, it's mainly dudes. But they went. Either way, it was rainy. It was nasty. It was outside. It was sure enjoyable for them. But in that same concert, a dad said he was, quote, forced to spend $21,000 on Taylor Swift tickets after ticketing company did not deliver the original tickets. This is according to the New York Post. They said the dad was forced to spend $21K for his daughter and friends to see Taylor Swift's sold-out concert because his original tickets never arrived. He bought it from the Eras Tour at Stop at Gillette Stadium. It was a Christmas gift for his 19-year-old daughter. The entire set, purchased through StubHub, only cost $1,800, but he was left still empty-handed days before the show. He opted to go through a different ticket site where he met the massive $21,000 price tag, 11 times the amount of what he paid. He says it's not right, in my opinion. They should not wait until the day before to give the tickets to be sent out to the reseller. StubHub, the third-party exchange and resale company, has a policy where tickets aren't sent to the purchaser until the day of or after the event. Alternative tickets weren't available. So here's the thing. It's twofold for me in this story. One, this is the dad of the year because kudos to that dad where he's like, I gave my daughter a Christmas gift. She was so excited about it. And when it didn't happen, I spent 11 times more than what I was supposed to because I want my daughter to be happy and go to that concert. That's an awesome thing to do. But two, here's the thing, my man. Like, if you can provide evidence or if there's something to where you were emailing them and asking them like, hey, where's my tickets? And they never responded. Okay. But that is their policy. And I'm sure if you tried to email them or communicate, maybe they'd say, hey, just to let you know, your tickets are available. They're just going to be there the day of the event. Don't worry. So some sort of breakdown in communication. Don't really know who to blame, but still, I applaud the dad for making sure that his daughter got to see that concert, even though it cost him $21,000.
The Milwaukee Bucks have narrowed down their coaching search to the top 3 candidates. So they're going to be making a decision on these 3 remaining candidates. They interviewed as many as 15 candidates. So we know that it was an extensive search. But now for the Milwaukee Bucks is down to Nick Nurse, former Raptors coach, associate head coach of the Golden State Warriors, Kenny Atkinson, and then Raptors assistant coach, Adrian Griffin. So those are your 3. Nick Nurse, Kenny Atkinson, and Adrian Griffin. One of those 3 will be the Bucks' next head coach.
So we know OnlyFans is always quite the interesting conversation to bring up, especially with the storylines that go along with it. But this is a new one with an OnlyFans model. She was having a lot of success. In fact, she had one person that was putting in nearly $2,000 a month in her content. She was very appreciative of it. I mean, that's big time. Well, come to find out, it was her stepdad. And she felt obliged to tell her mom, who was married to this man, that was going on, which led to the divorce of her mom and stepdad. Weird thing to do, kind of creepy, kind of crazy, kind of wild. But honestly, when it comes to OnlyFans, that's just something I feel like is another day at the office with some of the craziness that goes on that website.
With the PGA Championship, there was some rain in the forecast, and so that was something that the players had to deal with. Rory and Scotty Scheffler had matching rain suits during the tournament. And so there were a lot of jokes that came in for that. They said that these are janitor-looking outfits for Rory and Scotty Scheffler that they're wearing in the rain. You had, of course, the meme of the Spider-Man where you had 2 of them and they're pointing at each other saying that, they're the same there. And somebody pointed out that Nike needs to expand their outfits when it comes to rain gear because it shouldn't be a case where you see some of the top golfers and they're wearing the same outfit. So a lot of the jokes that went in with that.
Well, speaking of a joke, it's actually real, but it's also kind of funny to me. Trey Turner, who played in the World Baseball Classic, was phenomenal in the WBC. He played in 6 games, had 5 home runs and 11 RBIs in 6 games. I mean, he was on a tear. Well, with the Phillies, through 44 games, he has only 4 home runs and 10 RBIs. So he had more home runs and RBIs in 6 games in the World Baseball Classic than in 44 games with the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, that can all change, of course, and he can get going, but still, something that people have pointed out is like, I guess he just needs to go back and play into the WBC because that's where he really does his most damage as a hitter.
Kurt Cobain smash guitar. Now, this isn't even just a guitar that's put together. It's a smash guitar. It was expected to get about $60,000 at auction, but it sold for a lot more than that, almost $500,000 more, sold for $595,000 at an auction. And that's not out of the ordinary that anything attached to Kurt Cobain would sell for such a high price. But just think about that. It's a guitar that somebody can't even use, that they can't display on their wall, that is intact. It's an actual guitar that's smashed.
Also, people are big on social media, especially for those of you who watch TikTok. Maybe some of you get addicted. Maybe you just can't stop watching it. Well, here's something for you. It's from the website ubiquitousinfluence.com. And what they're doing is they're a marketing company, and they are going to be paying people $100 an hour just to watch TikTok. And they're going to pay these people where you need a 10-hour binge on TikTok where you'll make $1,000. So if you think that you are capable or able, at least, to go out and watch 10 straight hours of TikTok and make $1,000 on it, go visit their website because they're going to get you paid. But if you are also one of those people that do that, you may want to start using that money to go somewhere else and maybe go and get some help, because that's kind of weird how you would spend that much time watching TikTok.
John Cena and Dwayne Johnson had a feud that goes back years, and this is something that is kind of similar to Ben Roethlisberger, Kenny Pickett, and the comments that Ben Roethlisberger had towards Kenny Pickett, or his thoughts. And John Cena said that he was selfish. He says that he didn't have a concept of growth or someone else's perspective at the time, because he commented on Dwayne Johnson and being involved in acting and that he wasn't there all the time for WWE. Said, my view was, if you love something, be there every day. And then, like, what am I, a hypocrite now? Because I do love WWE, but I can't go all the time. So now it comes full circle, and he realizes what Dwayne Johnson was getting into, and now he's gone there, and he just said, I just didn't see it like that, and I was selfish.
One thing that I've gone through in my life at some point has been going from being a night owl to a morning person. It's not easy at all. But according to studies and researchers, here are 4 things that can help you out if you're having to transition to that. Put your phone down and turn off the TV. Don't use any electronics close to your bedtime. Only drink coffee in the morning, not throughout any other point in time. Don't take long naps. And also, don't exercise in the evening. You do those 4 things, you're going to be more often a successful morning person.
As we know, everything is moving towards streaming, and that's not only for TV, but for radio. We have plenty of listeners that listen to us through the stream, or maybe even watch us through the stream. Certain manufacturers for vehicles are removing AM/FM radios from their vehicles, and the latest to do so now are Ford, BMW, and Tesla. Some that have done it in the past already are Mazda and Volkswagen. So looks like more vehicles are going to be removing AM/FM radios, and everything is going to be about streaming.
I promise you it's going to be one of those things, as the old adage goes, you never really know what you miss until it's dead or it's gone. So I promise you'll be missing us on the radio. Appreciate everybody listening in Out of Bounds today. For Joe Franklin, I'm John Nabors. Same sports show, same sports channel tomorrow afternoon. Stay tuned, folks. Drive Time Sports coming up.